Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vishvaro Guratmeti Moti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, my dear friends, welcome to our Vedanta class on the big picture, Vedanta, the big picture from Swami Paramarthananda. And as we always do, we can either begin with questions, complaints, sharings, contributions, or we could jump into the text. By the way, did you take a pic on the text that I sent to you on Drig Drisha Viveka? Have you noticed that, Mark?
No, I haven't looked yet, Arlindo. I will do though. I will download it and print it off the book.
But you were aware that I did send it on one of our previous emails, huh? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
did you send the text? I don't see it.
Yeah.
In the last email.
Last week, it's there. If you don't find, I send it again to you.
Okay, I will see.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we're carrying on with our big picture. It is coming to an end, so we'll be beginning the other text soon. Last week we saw that that chart on Brahman, the original consciousness, in which it shows reflected consciousness, which is the manifestation, the byproduct of Maya. Maya comes and produces a reflection on the mirror-like pure consciousness. And this reflection happens in two levels. One is the universe, or Ishvara, right? Which is reflecting the macrocosm, mirror-like apparatus called Maya, or the Prakriti aspect of Maya, the three gunas, the three energy, the most fundamental energies. So we have Ishvara being reflected, and then we see that reflection. We have another reflection because we have another reflector, which is the subtle body of all jivas. And then we have another reflected consciousness. We have reflected consciousness as Ishvara, and Ishvara is not something that we can say it is this and not that. Ishvara is everything that we find in the universe, and not only, it is the laws and rules by which the universe is kept in place, and it's also the efficient, intelligent knowledge cause of the universe. So we have Ishvara, which is, the manifestation of Sattva, the aspect of Maya, pure Sattva that manifests as Ishvara. And Ishvara plays with the three energies, which is basically the mirror of Maya, plays with the other two, and then brings about the grossification of these qualities to produce the physical material universe. So Ishvara is the totality, which includes also the physical material universe we often call Jagata. Now we see Ishvara in the world, we see Ishvara in the laws governing the world, and we see Ishvara as the intelligence behind this manifestation. Everything comes from pure knowledge, intelligence, and you see it when we look into it. We can tell that it's kept, it's created and kept by this supreme intelligence, knowledge. So we have Ishvara, we have Jiva, both aspects of this reflected consciousness. One is huge, Ishvara is all-knowing, all-pervasive, Mitya. It is the knowledge of everything, omniscient, omnipotent. And then we have the Jiva, which is also a reflect consciousness, but designed to become the agent, the experiencing, knowing agent. Because what's the fun of creating a universe? You know, if Ishvara is going to be alone in the game, he creates the universe, and the universe is made only of inert material construct. And then we have the Ishvara alone. No, Ishvara wants to create other reflections, and these reflections are intelligent objects, you know, shining with reflect consciousness or sentience. Sentience. So we have the causal body of the Jiva, and we have the causal body of Ishvara, which is the entire, the totality of all causal body. We have the subtle body of the Jiva as well, known as the Taijasa. We have the subtle body of Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, and we have the physical material body of the Jiva, which is the waker, the Vishwa, and we have the manifest universe, the gross universe, okay, the physical material universe, which is known as Virat. So as we know, it's the same, three bodies on the macro and on the micro level. And then we looked into this. The difference between Jiva and Ishvara is in many ways diametrically opposite. So we say that Jiva is Ishvara, but when we look into Jiva and Ishvara, we have to accept that there are so many differences, you know. And Ishvara is the creator, for example. It's nicely put here. What is the most amazing diametrically opposite? Ishvara is the creator, and Jiva is the created. Okay, so Jiva is the agent to enjoy the creation. So we have the creator and we have the created Jiva. So that's why Jiva, the created Jiva, you know, better develop certain reverence and respect to that power that created us, you know, has given us this life, which was not made in a lab. It was not made out of any kind of artificial intelligence, but it is organic, carbon-based organic life that was created naturally by Ishvara. So the difference between both is huge. Perhaps the core teaching of Vedanta is that in spite of this difference, due only to the difference in the reflecting mediums, as we know. So we have both reflecting mediums. So one produces a huge reflection and the other produces a micro reflection. But both reflections are fundamentally the same. They are made out of light of consciousness, light of existence. So when we, in spite of all this superficial difference between Ishvara and Jiva, the statements of the Upanishads is that Jiva is Ishvara. And then, of course, we need to understand that that statement refers to Ishvara 1, not Ishvara 2. If we compare Jiva with Ishvara 2, which is the all-knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent, you know. So if we compare to that, we see, no, it's not the same. But if we compare the essential nature of Jiva Atma with the essential nature of Ishvara 1, and then we say yes. So it is the same. And then, of course, since everything fundamentally is Satchitananda, and then we can say yes, and Jiva Atma is the same as Ishvara. But in which way Jiva is the same as Ishvara and which way it is not, we have to keep it very clear in our mind. So it's the same, it's in its fundamental free independent, limitless nature as pure consciousness, and then Ishvara is pure consciousness, Jiva is pure consciousness. Both are reflected consciousness, but fundamentally pure consciousness. Both are appearance, both belong to Mitya, but both are fundamentally limitless, free, and independent consciousness. Okay, so we can establish in which way Jiva-Atma is the same as Ishvara, and we know that Jiva-Atma is the same as Paramatma as well as consciousness. As consciousness, there is only consciousness. All the name, colors, and forms, they are just appearance, superimpositions, but they are all made out of conscious existence. No? On the other hand, Ishvara, functioning through the macrocosm, gross, subtle, and causal body is omniscient. The difference between Jiva and Ishvara is in many ways diametrically opposite, so I covered that. This is the sense of non-duality. Yeah. So Jiva and Ishvara are essentially the same consciousness appearing as two different manifestations, two different reflections, different expressions. This is the essence of non-duality. Duality is an appearance only. Diversity, plurality of names and forms is an appearance. Any statement that reveals this unity, called the final declarations of the Vedas, the final Mahavakyas of the Vedas, any one of these statements, okay, are called Vedanta. They are Vedanta, or the Upanishads, or are the final declarations that appears in the end of the Vedas, that, okay, therefore, after having looked into all evidence, now we can establish you, Jivatma, is of the nature of limitless conscious existence. So this, but of course, these final Mahavakyas, they have no power in liberate the individual, because unless the individual has gone through the Vedas and karma, dharma, upasana, and many other cycles of birth, evolving and elevating oneself, purifying oneself spiritually, nobody's going to understand these Mahavakyas, of course. Everything has its time. So the sense of Vedanta are these Mahavakyas, are these declarations, and this is the meaning of non-duality. There are many Mahavakyas in the Upanishads, but generally there are four primary examples chosen from each one of the Vedas. We have four Vedas, and then there are several Mahavakyas. They all say more or less the same, okay? And with different Sanskrit words. And and then we're going to stick with those four. Actually, we often stick with those two, which I like very much, because one represents the teacher saying, you are that limitless consciousness. And then once the student have heard and contemplate that statement, and then he comes back to the teachers and say, yes, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that limitless consciousness. So one is the Vedas, the statement coming from the teaching, and the other is the one individual say, yes, I got it. I am that limitless consciousness. So the Veda, there are four Vedas, as we know, the Rig, Yurveda, Sama, and Atharvana Veda. And then there are the Upanishads, and then there are the Mahavakyas. Consciousness is the self. It's another way to say that the I that I refer to myself. Now I am myself. The self is mine. So this is my I. This is my I am. I exist. So this self is limitless consciousness. That's what it says. This limitless consciousness, which is not the mind, is your true self, your true I. This I is consciousness. It's not the mind, it's not the intellect, it's not the body-mind complex. It's saying that. And then the other one is aham brahmasmi, which means to say, I am the limitless self. Consciousness is the self. The self I refer to as I is limitless consciousness. And I am that limitless consciousness is the individual who has contemplated on the first Mahavakya, claiming its identity as the limitless self. So Tatvamasi is another angle in which the teacher or the scripture says, you, Jivatma, is that limitless consciousness. Don't confuse yourself, make no mistake. You, body-mind complex, is that limitless consciousness. And then the last one, which says basically the same thing, this limited self is the universal self. It's put in a different way. So there is one big I and small I. So the small I is the ego. This I am, I exist, which is referred as the ego. So this small limited self, which is under the spell of ignorance, of vidya, is the universal self. The universal self is an expression that I like to use in my Portuguese class. So it's universal because it's non-dual. Universal just means there is only one in the same self. So the ego self is the universal self, the only self there is. Reflection upon these concise, powerful statements is essential to understanding the teaching.
Arlindo.
Yep.
Arlindo, sorry, but what does it mean in English that thou art?
It means exactly what we say. You are that. You are that.
You are,
meaning, isn't it?
Okay,
you are that. Yeah, but then we need to understand that what it means by that and what is meant by you. Yeah, because it makes no sense if we look at it literally, because something that you say you and that you, one thing cannot be another thing. So we have to establish what is common between you and that. Okay, and that requires the teaching. Yeah. Reflection upon this concise, powerful statement is essential to understanding the teaching of Vedanta. This knowledge alone, the vision of non-duality, this declaration of non-duality as revealed by the Vedas, liberates a person from samsara. So this self-knowledge and liberation can only be acknowledged, because nobody's going to gain liberation because everybody is already liberated as consciousness. This knowledge, which implies the vision of non-duality, which is the Vedantic vision, liberates the person. This knowledge is the only means to liberation. It does not matter if a person does not go through the classic Vedantic teachings, but ultimately, one way or the other, having had these seeds of Vedantic knowledge already in one's causal body, this liberation comes with the understanding of one's true nature, which is limitless consciousness. There is no other way you get liberation. What it means to say, you don't get liberation by any special experience. Liberation can only be gained by understanding, knowledge of one's true free nature. So why I'm liberated? Because I have understood that I was always free, because I am free, limitless consciousness. So this is the only mean by which we can get liberation. This knowledge, and only this knowledge, can liberate the person. But yet, as I have mentioned before, if someone jumps to Upanishads and starts meditate on these final statements, it's not probable that the person is going to be liberated unless it has gone through the entire program. You understand? It has to be prepared to that final understanding. Yeah? So without the refinement of the intellect, maturity, and a certain mental, emotional, intellectual qualifications, the individual is most probably will not understand this statement. That's the downside of all these direct paths teachings around in the West, that tells people you are already free, yeah, and the person not understanding because it's not really prepared. There is no data. There is no knowledge, there is no base, there is no ground, there is no context on which the person can understand it, So when you tell the person, if the person is not well prepared, she will just say that, okay, I am free, I believe it. I only have the sense that I am free. And he will believe that I am free as a body-mind complex. You understand? So the body-mind complex is not free. It depends on so many factors. Oh, I am free. This body, this mind is free. So now I don't even depend on the pranas, on Ishvara, on the Dharma field. I don't depend on the trees. I don't depend on the food. I don't depend on the air. I don't depend on anything, which is an absurd. So the person needs to understand why. The Upanishads at the very end says, you are that free. You are free already, okay? You are free as consciousness. But it's a hard thing to acknowledge and accept, because of this hardwired ignorance that's going to again and again stay there nagging and say, no way, you are not really free. So you depend on so many things. Yeah, the body-mind depends. And sometimes people decide to believe it, but they believe that the body-mind is already free, have always been free, but it's not that. It's something else, as we know. So, but only finally this knowledge will liberate the person from samsara. Samsara is a psychological condition, subject experience of every individual that feels small and limited, and wants to somehow feel not bound but free and limitless, and one with the universe and so on. So samsara is that kind of psychological condition that creates or provides us with a lot of suffering. So all other practices of spiritual life, such as prayer, meditation, and chanting, may bring temporary relief from the sorrows of life. We know that all our practice, spiritual practice, with meditation, with prayers, and many other different aspects of doing things to feel better, doing things to purify and improve our minds and intellect. Everything was going to provide us with spiritual punya that's going to give us what? Relief from suffering, relief from ignorance. So we are bringing Ishvara into account. We are becoming spiritual beings, and then we are doing our practice, our sadhanas, and that gives us temporary relief from ignorance. Okay, so there is no question about that. And all these spiritual practices are not really designed to give us just relief from our sorrows, but is designed to help us to qualify for freedom. It's not just a question, I'm doing meditation because it makes me feel better. I mean, although that was the only reason I was doing that. I want to have relief from my sorrows, my suffering. And then I used to do different things, including meditation, because would temporarily resolve my problem. But once we become a serious seeker of freedom, of moksha, We don't do meditation and all this practice just to have temporary relief. We do those knowing that they are temporary reliefs, but that simultaneously purify and refine my body-mind complex, which is a different twist to it. You know, I'm not doing this to feel better. I'm doing this, first of all, to refine and purify. And as a bonus, I feel better. I know it does not last, but I'm preparing the body-mind complex to be able to go and seek for the ultimate truth, which means that, and only by that understand, I will be liberated from this suffering. A permanent solution can only be found by assimilating self-knowledge, which is the knowledge in regards to our essential unity with Ishvara and Brahman. Unity between subject and object, experiencer and experience, and object of experience. All difference, including Jiva and Ishvara, has to be resolved by understanding the essential nature of all objects. Okay? And when we say that the Jiva is the subject, it's a misunderstanding that occurs in the mind of all Jiva Atmas. They feel like I am the subject, and it is true, I am the subject as consciousness, the only subject there is, but I am an object in my substantial nature as the body-mind complex. In spite of the multiplicity of reflections appearing in different shapes and forms, the original light is always one and the same. We have no doubt about that. So now we have the next chapter, which is about liberation and karma, the next topic here. It's interesting that the very end of this book, which is an introduction, nice, beautiful introduction to Vedanta, Swami Paramarthananda, he brings the topic of liberation and connect to karma, liberation and karma, okay? So when you liberate, you have to look and understand the relationship between, this moksha and karma. Let's see what he has to say. The results of self-knowledge is called jnana phalam. Jnana phalam is the results of contemplation. It's jnana is knowledge, phalam. So the results of inquiring and contemplation, reflection, the results, the fructification, the fruits of vichara is called jnana phalam. Phala is the result of vichara. So we have two different spiritual paths. One is called karma. We do things to get a result. And once we understand that we are not doing things, doing our spiritual practice to get only relief from suffering, but we are doing that to produce spiritual growth and personal growth and purifying, etc. So we are doing that, and that is karma. So when we do our spiritual practice, we are doing karma. And then what do we get? We get karma phalam, the results of my actions. So we have two kinds of results. One is karma phalam, the results of my actions, and I'm doing actions that then can be mental actions, it can be mental repetition, that means to say, or meditations to control my mind, my sensory instruments, and so on. So I can do many different, or chanting, or I can do many things that's going to give me some punya result, which is referred to the results of karma phalam. But in the case of Vedanta, which is the only means for liberation, what we gain is jnana phala, is the result of knowledge, inquiring, investigating, assimilating, reflecting. So self-knowledge the results of self-knowledge are considered twofold in the teachings. There are two aspects of results we get. Okay, so we did our homework, we did a lot of karma, we have gained a lot of results of karma phalam, and then gradually we grew, we refined, we purified, and then we entered the last stage, which is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. It's an intellectual effort to understand these final statements of the Upanishad. So we enter that, and then we go about studying the scriptures with the help of a competent teacher, as Swami Paramarthananda likes to put. And then by doing that, we're going to get fruits of that kind of effort. Okay, so it's not said to be an action, but it's said to be an intellectual effort that produces different kind of results, and the result is jnana, knowledge. Knowledge means to say self-knowledge. So there are two fruits gained in this lifetime as a result of this vichara, okay, which is self-inquiry and self-knowledge being the fruits of that effort. And the results, there are two gains. One of them is the result is called the Jivanmukti. And the fruits obtained after death are videhamukti. So you probably all have seen these two concepts before. So we do what we do because we want to enjoy the fruits of our efforts. We have enjoyed the fruits of our actions. We have improved, refined, and purified until we develop the qualifications. Now, being qualified, we do our vichara, our investigation, our self-inquiry, self-analysis, and then we gradually assimilate. And then when this knowledge is firmly retained, we say that one has recognized one's true nature, one has got the self-knowledge as a result of one's investigation. So this person is said to be Jivanmukti, is someone who is liberated while is still incarnated, still in the body, okay? Jivanmukti. And there are other fructifications that comes with self-knowledge, which is a fructification that you enjoy the benefits, the fruits of the self-knowledge, and then the body goes its process, because self-knowledge is not going to give anybody immortality to the body, okay? The body is going to age and die, and then there is another benefit which is referred to as videhamukti, okay? Let's see what Swami P says about this. So Jivanmukti means liberation while living. It refers to the benefits of self-knowledge enjoyed at the mental level. How interesting, huh? He puts there, it means the benefits of self-knowledge enjoyed at the mental level. So who is going to enjoy the benefits in the mental level? It can only be the Jivatma. The Jivatma is the Jiva who got this knowledge, and he attained and retained this knowledge while in the body, in spite of all challenge of being in the body. So it's going to enjoy whatsoever is left of one's life at the mental level. Now, mental level means to say mental, emotional level. The mind is the one who is going to access the world, transact with the world, interact with the world. The mind on the mental, emotional level is going to have a different experience. Therefore, it's said the self-knowledge is going to make the jiva that before was not really aware of its limitless nature, now aware of its limitless nature, it sees the eyes from a different pair of eyes, the eyes of self-knowledge, the eyes of spiritual wisdom, and then it has a much better experience in spite of the challenge we may find in life. And what is the ultimate challenge that we all find in life is to lose the physical body. So everything we do is trying to avoid death of the physical body. The biggest challenge is to lose it. And in spite of all adversities, the fruits of self-knowledge is this one, is enjoyment at the mental, emotional level. So you can be happy even if circumstances are very challenging. It's the Jivatma who is going to enjoy the fruits of self-knowledge, and does so at the mental level. Moksha will not gift the individual jiva with superpowers, we know that. It's not going to create any unhuman strength, okay? And it will not produce eternal physical life, health. So, oh no, it reminds me of someone in Italy that at certain time, this person turned into spirituality, and he even got in contact with some of these modern teachers, such as Eckhart Tolle and so on. And then one time I was present to him the fact that the greatest sages of our time, they died because this person was under the impression that if you were really enlightened, you will not die, you're going to conquer death. And then I present to him the notion that some of my gurus, they were beautiful souls, highly enlightened, but yet they died, and they died of cancer. And then this person just told me, no, this is not possible. If he died of cancer, it's because he's not enlightened. Because if you are enlightened, you know how to prevent disease to settle into your body. So this is delusion. The spiritual marketplace is stuffed with delusions, as we know. And Vedanta is said to be only for grown-up people, not delusional kids, immature, infantile people. The Jivanmukta will not be able to walk on water or turn water into wine. It will be nice, it will be much cheaper than buy wine in the supermarket, but it's not going to happen. Maybe some yogis do that, but some of these rishis, with this kind of special mental powers, but that's not freedom. That is just see the powers, powers to manifest things. So, but the Jivanmukta, the one the poor Jivanmukta, the one who got this knowledge in respect to its free, limitless nature, he has no power. You understand? He is the same poor, limited Jiva on that level, but he just understood his or her limitless true nature. So it will not be able to do that. This has nothing to do with moksha anyway. The limitations and suffering of samsara were always purely mental. Very nice. They say, so self-knowledge is going to do what? It's going to remove our suffering. And our suffering was occurring what? On the mental level. Jivanmukta now is enjoying life at the mental level, mental, emotional level. And before it was suffering, samsara. So the problem samsara is subjective, it's psychological. It was always purely mental. So even samsara is not true, does not really exist except subjectively in the mind of the jiva, atma, under the spell of avidya. So is the word really samsara? Is the world going to bound and create a prison so that we are, No, this happens only on the mental level of the individual. As we know, the world as we see around and the people and everything, they are just configurations, They are just plays of the elements, and they don't have real intrinsic value. You understand? And there is no need for us to get caught up with chasing these configurations, these name, colors, and forms, these people, place, things, and circumstance. We don't need to. We do so because we project certain values. We project freedom on object. It's samsara is just happening on the mental, purely mental. Never exists samsara. So there is a misunderstanding there, and this misunderstanding has to be removed, and takes time until we go through the whole process, until we really understand that the world, the universe as it is a play of elements which is deprived of true satisfaction, deprived of true value. The values are projected by the jiva. This is the entire play of jiva, jaka, and nityara. The jiva is keeping projecting value on the objects and getting caught up, and then it feels bound to samsara and say, oh, samsara is a very terrible place. But everything has happened on the mental, purely on the mental level, and then moksha is going to happen also for the jiva on the mental level. It's going to understand its true nature, and then the byproduct is the fruits of that understanding, which is going to be enjoying life on the mental, psychological level. You remove the samsara psychological factor from one's life. Is it clear, Claudio? Any questions, doubts? The first and most important benefit, the limitations and suffering of samsara were always pure mentally. Self-knowledge remedies this problem on the level of the problem, the mind. How nice. Huh? So what's self-knowledge going to do? It's going to resolve a problem. And to resolve a problem, you have to go down to the level of the problem. The problem was on the mind. The mind was seeing the snake on the rope. And then you have to go back there to the snake that was seen on the rope. And then you have to undo that misconception, those misperception, okay? And then the individual is there watching the same rope and no longer, panicking and fearing that, but now he's enjoying the rope because he can throw the bucket and pour a little bit of water to refresh himself or herself. So it has to be, the remedy is to be applied on the same level of the problem, which is the mind. So self-knowledge is going to be enjoyed at the mental level of the jivanmukta, because it has removed the suffering, which was a phenomenal, subjective phenomenon that was occurring in its mental level. What is the psychological problem? Psychological problem is a perception of reality as the duality, jiva and the objects around him, and the projection of value on the object, which makes the jiva to be trapped, chasing, running, gaining, trying to retain or avoid certain objects. So this is the definition of samsara. The first and most important benefit obtained by self-knowledge, now he's going to go into the benefits. He's going to present a few benefits. The first and most important benefit obtained by self-knowledge is a sense of fulfillment in life. Purvatvam. When we truly know that our nature is eternal, limitless consciousness, beginningless consciousness, and not the temporary body, mind, sense complex, we realize that we are free from limitations. So we are going to understand that we are what? We are whole, we are limitless, we are complete, full, whole, and complete, as it says. There is only me consciousness, and consciousness is one without nothing beyond consciousness, because there is no beyond consciousness. You understand? It's one without a second. Once one understands that, it develops the sense of I'm whole and complete. Fulfillment is a sense of I'm whole and complete. Fulfillment is a sense of I am whole and complete, and I am limitless in consciousness, as consciousness, my true nature, my true identity nature. Yeah? When we know that, we realize that we are limitless. Yeah, we are free from limitation. So I am fulfilled. Okay, why? Because the sense of unfulfillment is what moves us to run after things, chase things, to gain things in the world of object as a mean to complete ourselves. Yeah, everything we do is an attempt to establish my sense of satisfaction, complete. No, there is nothing missing. There is nothing missing. What it means? Oh, I have no desire in my mind. There is nothing that I need to do in order to complete myself. Okay, either because my mind gave me a break. I have accomplished so many goals that by now, for a few moments, I'm free of desires. Or, if we understand that we do not need to engage all these desires, because my nature is purna, is fulfillment. I'm full, I'm whole. There is nothing missing. Desires are going to say, yes, but if you are still missing this, you are still missing that. And then the body mind is going to say, oh, yeah, that would have been so nice. But then, you as consciousness has to come and say, no, I am purna. So this is the first and most important benefit, which is the sense of being whole, full, and complete. Purnatva. Everything belongs to us. Meaning to say everything is just name, colors, and forms superimposed on us consciousness. Therefore, nothing exists beyond my limitless nature as conscious exists. Everything is happening in me. Everything appears and disappears in me. That's what it means. That's what it means. Everything belongs to me. No, it's not belong in that sense. Everything apparently happens within me. If it apparently happens within me, do I need to rush and chase these things that are appearing? No, for two reasons. First, because it's already appearing in me. And second, because it's not real. It's an appearance. You understand? It's already in me and it's not real. We are free from isolation and rejection because we are all pervading self-consciousness. Just as space cannot be rejected by anyone due to its all-pervading nature, so too can the self never be rejected by anyone. So if I know that I am consciousness, I'm the self, and I know that my nature is all-pervading consciousness, my pervading nature pervades the space, which is the most pervasive object of mithya. So I know that I'm even more pervasive. So the space can never be rejected anywhere, meaning to say, wherever you go, you're going to find space. So wherever we go, we're going to find the light of conscious existence, which is the most pervasive, which is the substratum on which the play of Maya takes place. The self can never be rejected. Nothing escapes the self. Everything happens within the scope of the self. Wherever we go, there is the self. Self must be there, as the existing consciousness of the nature of limitlessness for any and all phenomena to take place. So the second benefit of self-knowledge is a sense of independence. The presence or absence of objects will not affect us emotionally. So when we still under the spell of vidya, and we see the world, and we are still suffering from this push and pull, this magnetic push and pull towards objects or away from objects, attraction and repulsion. So when we are suffering from those forces, we don't find ourselves with that sense of freedom and independence. Okay, why? Because I feel that I depend on pushing away certain objects, as well I depend on gaining some other object, because I still have a sense of incompletion playing in my mind. I still have a sense that I need what I need in order to be satisfied and fulfilled. Okay, so this second benefit is a sense of being free and independent from the object. I am whole, full, and complete. Okay, that's my nature, all pervasive consciousness, and I, as the Jivanmukti, I enjoy the second benefit, which is a sense of independence from the object. The objects are going to be seen as just configurations of the elements put together by my Ishvara, but they don't disturb my mind with the sense of repulsion and attraction that are constantly disturbing my self-knowledge, are constantly challenging my self-knowledge. So we are emotionally not affected by the presence of this apparent world of objects. It's only when we are dependent upon these external objects, factors, that their presence or absence will affect us, cause mental, emotional distress, intellectual distress. It's only when we still feel like, I really need certain things to take place here. I need these things. Come on, Ishvara, I know I am one with you as consciousness, but still, I want to control my experience. So this is a declaration of dependence on objects from the field. I'm declaring to myself and to the universe, I depend on all of these things, right? So this is another aspect of a vidya. But once we have this sense of independence, it means that the knowledge was properly assimilated, and we enjoy these both benefits. I'm fulfilled, I'm satisfied, I'm whole, I'm complete. There's nothing missing, and I don't feel any sense of dependence on people, place, things, events, circumstances, or anything. Obviously, while in the body, we will depend upon food, of course. The body is going to depend upon food, and the Jivanmukti, which on the meteor level is a body-mind construct that requires food and shelter, is going to say, yes, for the body to be on, it needs food and shelter. But I myself, I do not depend. Since I enjoy life, I enjoy this creation, since I haven't worked so hard to gain my self-knowledge, so I prefer to feed and shelter my body so that I can enjoy the benefits of self-knowledge, isn't it, Mark? So there are some sages that have a funny temperament, like Nisargadatta Maharaj. He said, I don't give a damn for all of you. This is all unreal. I'm the absolute, and I want to get out of here as soon as possible. So he had a kind of a grumpy personality, but someone with good positive attitudes will say, no, I will stop smoking bidi because it's going to give me a terrible, painful experience, and it's going to shorten my life. Anybody with a positive attitude toward the creation and the creator would say, no, I want to take care of my body, but with no obsessions, because the identity with the body was broken. But still, one say, why not? This is the instrument by which I can still enjoy the benefits of self-knowledge as a Jivanmukta. However, emotional dependence is neutralized by self-knowledge. Emotional dependence is a different thing than physical dependence. Emotional dependence is neutralized or extensively minimized by self-knowledge. Things come and go, and our attachment to these objects is lessened. For we know that we are ever present, ever full, eternal, free, and independent conscious existence. Fullness is our nature, independence and freedom is our nature. Therefore, I don't need to chase objects to feel fulfilled, satisfied. So this tendency gradually drops away. This leads to the third benefit of self-knowledge, which is emotional balance or stability, which I love this benefit. Swami Paramarthananda emphasizes it very often, which is the fructification of self-knowledge must show up as a mental, emotional balance, okay, strength. Balance, meaning to say strength, meaning to say to deal with life without losing my self-knowledge, in few words. So I deal with challenge, I deal with wonderful moments of happiness, circumstantial happiness, but circumstantial happiness is not going to affect my mind. I'm not going to lose myself, my freedom, and getting all involved and caught up with happy moments. And neither I'm going to suffer when circumstances are unfavorable. This is the third benefit, which is balance or mental emotional stability. This is our enhanced capacity to face the ups and downs of life. The ups as well, we don't want to go crazy about, because otherwise, no, this is, and then it's already, there is a sign there that there is attachment. Why? Because the guy is too happy about that. He should be happy before, and not so happy after something like that happened. And then some people are going to say, no, this self-knowledge, it turns the person a little bit like a zombie, maybe, He's so indifferent. He's indifferent from those great punya karmas that come and present. Oh, no, he's not really all happy. He's just like in the middle. He's just like looking at life and say, okay, some punyas come my way. And then next month, some papas coming my way. No big deal. That's what it means. So this self-knowledge works like a shock absorber of a vehicle. This is another analogy that I learned from Swami Paramarthananda. So the car is heated, but it has some shock absorbers or airbags, so that we don't take those shocks too heavily. The roads may be bumpy and full of potholes, but the shock absorbers prevent the vehicle from getting damaged. Similarly, self-knowledge enables us to face and accept life's upheavals. And what is upheavals? Going up, upheaval, difficulties. No. Similarly, self-knowledge enables us to face and accept life's upheavals and prevents excessive emotional disturbance. So again, it says like it prevents excessive emotional disturbance. So after all, the jivanmukta, the one with his knowledge, is still in a body, is still in its humanity. And it's understandable that some small emotional disturbance may come, but it's quickly minimized and neutralized by self-knowledge, by, as we often say, it's the knowledge immediately allows the yoni to regroup, recompose, and stays there and say, no problem, okay, I know what I am. Even if my immunity say, oh no, there is an expression, a teaching that Swami Paramarthananda say that samsari, when he meets a very difficult situation, he looks at the situation and says, what? And the jnana is going to look at the situation and is going to say, no, sorry. The samsari is going to look at the situation and is going to say, what? What? And the jnana is going to say, why not? Yeah? So it's the same why, but followed by why not? Different reactions. The jnana sees things for what they are, an interplay of objects in the field of existence. No? It's just the play of Maya, objects, in the field of action. A dancing show that in no way affects who we are as consciousness. So we are consciousness. We have a mind. The mind is going to experience the dancing show of Maya Ishwara. And if this mind is holding this knowledge in regards to its true nature, it is knowledge going to minimize the ups and downs, the punya and papa. So, and the jnana is going to look through, live it through without much depression or excitement. Okay, just seeing everything as a dancing show that does not affect its true nature as limitless consciousness. We may find ourselves slightly affected by the more turbulent moments of life. This is Swami Paramarthananda. He presents this big deal of self-knowledge often on very realistic terms. I enjoyed that. He said, we may find ourselves slightly affected by the more turbulent moments of life, but we are no longer overpowered by those challenges. We are not overpowered by those turbulence. You understand? You hold yourself, you remember who you are, and say, so be it. Okay? Why not? Such is the blessing of properly assimilated self-knowledge for the Jivanmukta. That's very nice. The blessing for fully assimilated self-knowledge for the Jivanmukta. This nididhyasana, assimilation of this knowledge is essential. Okay, my friends, we passed a little bit of our time here, and we begin next week from the liberation after death, which is the case of videhamukti. It's not really something that's going to give us any extra benefit. Or we can say that the benefit is the benefit of not having to come back here. Because if we come back here, we're going to have to go through the initial avidya and then grow and hoping that we're going to find circumstances that are going to be conducive to self-realization at early age, until we have no deals hanging to come back here. Videhamukta means to say, what is the benefit? Is it you get a stamp and say, okay, you are free. You are not going to have to come back. This is on the macro level, is freedom from having to come back, freedom from samsara, freedom from this endless cycle of rebirth. So, but not everybody is interested in that kind of videhamukta deal. So it depends on our temperament. I prefer not to come back here and just solve into consciousness our true limitless free nature. Okay, so that's all for today. Namaste. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you a lot. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon. Today is Thursday, so we meet again next Monday, right? Yeah, with Panchadasi. Much love. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.